Welcome to the University of Michigan Sound Support's 2023 Parent Webinar Summer Series. This is the second of 3 parent webinars we have for the summer. My name is Amanda McGuire. I am the Sound Support Coordinator for the University of Michigan's Cochlear Implant Program. As you may know, Sound Support is an outreach grant funded by the University of Michigan's Department of Otolaryngology and Michigan Medicaid. The grant is designed to provide outreach and support to children with hearing loss and their families throughout Michigan. We put together this series of webinars for parents due to the great responses from the past series. If you have any questions, please email Sound Support at oto-soundsupport@med.umich.edu. Today's parent webinar is titled Strategies for Facilitating Talking. I would like to take the opportunity to introduce our presenter today, Ellen Thomas. Ellen Thomas is a speech pathologist here at the Cochlear Implant Program. With that, I'll hand it over to Ellen.
Hello, welcome to our Sound Support Parent Webinars series for 2023. My name is Ellen Thomas, and in this webinar we're going to talk about strategies that you can use to help your child learn to listen and talk. Our goal with Sound Support is to improve the quality of care and the timeliness with which children receive care throughout our state of Michigan. It's a matching grant, so it's funded 50% by Michigan Medicaid and 50% by our University of Michigan Department of Otolaryngology. We're a large team of professionals on this grant. Our principal investigators are Kelly Starr and Dr. Mark Thorne, and the rest of us are audiologists or speech-language pathologists, auditory verbal therapists, and our grant coordinator who keeps us going where we need to go when we need to go. As we look at strategies, let's first look at strategies to facilitate device use to help you get that technology on your child working properly. It sounds so easy, but it can be so hard. But it's so important. Above all, the first goal for every family needs to be to help that child wear the device. And the reason for this has to do with the amount of listening time that children need to learn to listen and talk. So consider a baby with typical hearing listens for about 10 hours a day, getting all that auditory input. And this is equivalent to roughly 3,650 hours a year of auditory input, of learning to listen, of learning to talk. Now, if we look at a child who uses their hearing technology 4 hours a day, we start to see the problem, because it's going to take 6 years for that child to get the same amount of listening time that this baby with typical hearing got in 1 year. This is how delays happen. This is how you can really get in a hole. So as professionals, part of our job is to really encourage you and explain to you why device use is so critical to meeting the goal that you're looking for. The first strategy we're going to talk about is the power of attention. This comes from Becky Bailey's Conscious Discipline. And the idea is whatever we focus on, we're going to get more of. So we're going to focus on something that we really want, which is the child wearing the hearing technology. We're going to be excited about that. We're going to really make a big deal about it. Whereas when the child pulls the device off, we're going to have a non-reaction. But when the child lets us put it back on, we're going to clap, we're going to say, yay, we're going to be excited, and we're going to give them our full attention. This is my young friend Lorelei, who got to 12 hours a day of use with her Medel Sonic cochlear implants. When I talked to her mom and asked her, what helped you get to that full-time device use? She said persistence. And you have to keep putting those things back on till you just can't stand it. But also this idea of the power of attention, focusing on the positive of what she wanted, which was her daughter to wear the devices, and clapping and being excited when those processors went on. This is a really effective strategy for young children, about 18 months and under. Now let's look at another strategy. A second strategy for facilitating device use is distraction. You can offer that child something that they aren't used to seeing, maybe that they think they're not supposed to play with, and they become distracted enough that they forget you're messing with their ears. I encourage families to have a box handy of things that the child doesn't usually get to play with, like measuring cups or K-pods or bubbles or something that they don't usually have access to that'll capture their attention for those couple minutes that you need to get that technology on. A balloon, a helium balloon, pulling it up and down can work wonders when you're starting out. This is my friend Logan. He wears Oticon Play hearing aids, and this family got to 10 hours a day of device use by distraction. They allowed him to watch his favorite TV show when they were putting the hearing aids in. And he had a twin sister who they let stick on sticker earrings so that everybody got excited about putting their ears on, and it was a normal part of the routine. That's an important concept of normalizing this as this is part of your routine. This is what we do. This is what happens every day. Along with those strategies, we need retention aids. We need things to help keep these things in place because it's not easy on little people. So some ideas are headbands or ear suspenders, which is this thinner strap that you see in the little girl in the picture and this little boy. Also an ear huggy. This child has a clear tube going around his ear to keep the device in place. We also have a variety of kinds of clips that can be used. And a great option for babies, up to about a year, is to use a pilot cap. And you see a couple examples of pilot caps in the pictures at the bottom. These are all things that can help secure the device and keep it from moving around so that it's not always falling off. Wig tape also is helpful for a lot of families in securing processors. This is my friend Winston, who got to 11.2 hours a day of device use with his Cochlear implants using a Hearing Henry headband. His mom said he really accepted his processors very quickly, and this just really became part of the routine. So it sounds easy, but this can be the single biggest barrier to success. It can be the biggest challenge, but it's also the most important one. In order to get the benefit of today's technology and to help a child learn to listen and talk, we have to get device use. Now, let's look at some strategies to facilitate listening and spoken language once we've got device use. We're going to talk about some strategies using terms that were coined by Dr. Teresa Caraway, who is the CEO of Hearing First and incoming CEO of the Oberkotter Foundation. If you haven't been to the Hearing First website, I really encourage you to explore it. It's got lots of great, reliable information on helping young children learn to listen and talk. I've also put on here the web link to look at the strategies again. So you have a place to go where you can remind yourself of what was talked about today and even read a little deeper if you want to. So first, the strategy of being a director. This strategy is using listen and pointing to your ear to get the child's attention and help them tune in. Young listeners don't start out monitoring their environment by sound 24 hours a day. They need a cue. especially if they're tired or distracted by something. So when we're getting ready to talk to them, we want to say, listen, do you want to eat? Are you hungry? And that will really help the child focus in and use their hearing. We all know that hearing and listening aren't the same. I'm sure any of you who have children old enough to play some sort of video game are probably well aware that a child can be playing a video game, have normal hearing, and absolutely not respond to you when you talk to them. So everybody has to develop auditory attention. For children who are deaf or hard of hearing, we have to consciously do this and maybe work a little harder, but we have to develop this listening. And actually, children who have been in auditory verbal therapy and their parents have worked with them often have much better listening attention than children who have typical hearing, especially in today's world. So this cue to listen. Here you see the therapist is holding a ring up and she's looking at the parent expectantly. She's cueing the child, listen, and they're waiting for a sound, at which point the child and the therapist will put a ring on the stack. This is developing a conditioned response, which is going to get you in and out of the sound booth with better audiograms or in and out of programming with more reliable maps and a shorter period of time. So young listeners really benefit from this cue to listen in multiple ways. When a child is a young listener, it often works well for one parent to tap the child's ear and say, listen, and then have the other parent standing farther away, maybe behind the child, call their name. And then everybody gets excited when they turn and look at the parent. This is a good way to start the development of this auditory attention that's so important for academics later on and for being a good conversationalist. Here's our second strategy. It's called Be a Bird Dog, and it's all about you identifying sounds when you hear them and pointing to your ear saying, I hear it. So when you hear the microwave go off, when you hear a bird outside, when you hear a dog barking, when you hear daddy coming home, these are all times when you can use this, I hear it, to bring your child's awareness to a sound and help them identify it. And now we're making good, strong auditory connections to things that happen in their world. So what we're doing is hearing a sound, maybe it's a dog, saying, I hear it, it's a dog, and then pointing out whatever it was that made that sound so that the name is associated with the sound. And here's our language starting to develop. Now we're going to talk about a third strategy, and this is hear it before you see it, or audition first. We want to really strengthen that auditory system. And in 99% of the cases, a child who's deaf or hard of hearing's visual system is strong and it will override the auditory system every time until we strengthen that auditory system. So this strategy is about bringing the auditory attention in before the child knows what we're talking about, so that we're building in language and they're having to really exercise their listening to find out what's going on. What you see here, if you're not already aware, are little tubs that Talenti Gelato comes in. And I have made an incredible sacrifice to remove the product that comes in these tubs, wash them out, and then use them in therapy. These are really good therapy tools, and you get to eat the gelato first. But the reason they're good is because the bottom is see-through, but that top lid is opaque, so that if you hold the jar with the lid facing the child so they can't see what's in it, and you shake it, these make a lovely rattling sound. So it's very easy to get the child's auditory attention. So you shake it, it rattles, and then you say, oh, it's a duck, quack, quack, quack. And you tell them you've got a duck in there and what it says. Then, after you've got their auditory attention, hand it to them. And young children love to open things, and these are fairly easy to open. Usually you have to start it for the child, but most of them can get the lid off, then get the toy, and you've had this whole nice listening opportunity and this language experience. And if you didn't know, everything's more interesting if you put it in a box. So if you want your child's attention, you just have to take what you've already got at home and put it in a box, and it is much more interesting, especially if they're around 18 months to 30 months. Here you see the learning to listen sounds, and this is a set of early learning stimulus. So what we do is we choose common sounds to young children, and we pair a sound with an object. So we're giving them something that's a little easier to grab onto auditorily, also a little easier to imitate, and we're also pairing the real word, though, with it as we develop this whole listening and spoken language area. So we might take one of these cans and put an airplane in it. Then we close the lid, and we haven't let the child see it. We shake it, and we go, I hear it. And they're hearing it before they see it. So we say, ah, it's an airplane. So we've given them that sound that's easier to reproduce, but we've also given them the word, the label, because we want them to know it's an airplane. But we're giving them an opportunity to grab onto something and start their development of. Strategy 4 is about making the listening environment easier. Auditory fatigue is a real phenomenon, and for children who are working on their listening and who use hearing technology, we want to make the environment as quiet as possible so that they can listen easily to what we want them to. This might mean turning the dishwasher off during the day and running it at night. It might mean closing a window. It might mean turning a television off. And it means listening to your environment with an ear to what kind of extraneous noise is there that you might have some control over, so that you're giving an easier listening situation to the child. It doesn't necessarily mean the difference between being able to hear or not hear, but it's how much effort does the child have to put in to attend to your speech. Your voice is without question the most powerful tool you have for helping your child learn to listen and talk. Acoustic highlighting is all about using your voice to emphasize certain things, something a child missed, vocabulary you want them to acquire, a particular instruction that you want them to key into. Acoustic highlighting can occur in lots of different ways. At the very earliest level, it might be highlighting a sound, like a vowel the child's not yet made. Maybe ooh, ooh, ooh. Or at a word level, it might be something like, I have a car. The car goes beep, beep. Do you want the car? And then as brain connections develop, the highlighting will shift to maybe a missed word or a grammatical marker in their speech. So if the child says a sentence incorrectly, you might say, oh, he wants water and she wants milk, if the child didn't get the pronoun right. Or you might emphasize a grammatical ending like, Dad is pouring the milk. All things that help the child key into something that they haven't yet mastered. And it's a nice way to point it out without having to say, oh, you didn't say pouring. You can simply repeat the sentence and add it in. Dad is pouring the milk. And kids will get it. They don't have to have you tell them that they made a mistake. This acoustic highlighting has a lot of dimensions to it, from being quiet to being loud, from using it to highlight a sound or a word or a phrase. It's very powerful and it's always accessible to you. So use your voice because it will be helpful to your child. Strategy number 5 is play-by-play. This is narrating life. Daily routines are a great place to start using this strategy. Maybe when you're dressing the child, oh, it's time to get dressed. We're going to put on your shirt. Let's put in this arm. Now let's put in this arm. Oh, you have your shirt on. You are giving lots of language. You are telling them what's happening in their world. And you're giving them the opportunity to hear it in a good auditory environment. As you narrate life and your child advances and they become better language users and they move up in the level of language they use, using phrasing such as, I see, or I wonder if, it's pretty. Oh, now let's, are you ready? I want, or we need, and then maybe first, let's do this. All of this phrasing helps frame the language and is important to the understanding of not only spoken language, but reading. Strategy 6 is it's your turn, or serve and return. Think about it like tennis. You say something to the child, they vocalize back, you say something again, and you look at them expectantly, and they vocalize back. We want to encourage a baby or a young child to take as many turns as possible back and forth with us. This is how you get a good conversationalist. This is how they learn how to have a conversation, and that speech is meaningful and that language is important. So we use an expectant look. We look at the child like we're expecting them to say something. We wait. We give them a positive response of, oh, yes, I know. What else can you tell me? And we repeat the process again and again. It's a really important part of developing communication between the child and another person. This video has been seen pretty widely, I think, but it's such a lovely example of serve and return. I'm going to play part of it for you now. So this dad uses an expectant look really well. He waits for the child to take a turn. He provides positive feedback of, oh, yeah, that's what I was going to say to this baby. And he has taught this child how to have a conversation. Um, as we wrap up here, just please note that this is a webinar that was recorded live in July 2023, and things do sometimes change, so bear that in mind. Thank you for watching. We hope it's been helpful to you. For more information about our program and up-to-date information about events, look for us on Facebook or our new Twitter feed. And you can also contact us for more information about sound support at the email address listed on the screen. We appreciate being part of the lives of families of children with hearing loss and really want to see every child be successful and reach their potential. Thank you.